start off the gates. So as the previous tracks, they're kind of around the kind of mid-tempo, kind of mid-heaviness style of thing. Queen of the Night definitely starts out a lot kind of more aggressive and heavy. It's just a typical thing, it takes about 55 seconds, maybe a minute to kind of get into the actual verse. So because of that, you have the typical thing which Darkwater do, which is has an intro that has multiple kind of tiers to it, kind of, you know, layers to it. So first off, it just starts full band going into it. It's got a bit of a mirror kind of feel to it, so if you've done a mirror, then it's this kind of tinnitus sort of sound to it. And then there's a bit of a kind of break with the instruments, so it's just kind of the keys doing this sci-fi kind of vibe effect, if you will, on the keys. Underneath like drum bass, and then just, you know, the odd kind of guitar kind of comes in and out, so just dun 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 dun, and then just pause for the kind of sci-fi key sound and drums and everything. And then it goes back into kind of like the kind of heavy rhythmic thing again in a different style. Then it eventually gets into the first verse, which you know, starts soft, and then they have that kind of build effect that they do. So the way it starts actually sounds very reminiscent of Miraf as well, especially the album, kind of their first album, Hope. So he sounds a lot like the singer of Miraf on that album, Hope. Maybe some elements of the new album, Shahili. So it's got this kind of Miraf-y kind of feel to it. And then eventually we can try and kind of pick it up a little bit. You get the chorus. It's a very nice chorus, it has a nice flow to it. It doesn't have a lot of impact, it's just what kind of just, here's the chorus, it's kind of open, a lot of kind of breathing room and things. But it's got a good flow to it. And then the next verse, they actually have a pre-chorus this time round, because for the first time they didn't have it. The pre-chorus is my favourite kind of aspect of this song actually, just because of just the band and the vocals, and then what the guitar does. He uses like harmonics in their areas, so it's basically where the kind of the harmonic is like where he picks something and then it goes quite bright and everything. You'll know what I mean when you get to the pre-chorus, what I'm on about. It's a nice sound, and I kind of like whenever the guitarist actually does that. I just think it kind of just adds, you know, more to it, just more excitement. This chorus this time round, a bit more energy, but it's not really overdoing the energy. I know the production really has the energy kind of lack, but production aside, I do think they're still not really pushing that hard. It's basically just adding a bit more weight to it, but I believe they could add a bit more as well. The solo is quite slow actually here. It's a kind of slow solo, a lot of holds and everything. A lot of feel and everything, but although I like that, I like that there's a lot of feel and emotion to it, and different style to just kind of go out and shred. It's a bit more kind of blues orientated. It's a short solo, it doesn't really last that long, so I like that I got something new, but because I've been given something new and he hasn't really expanded on it, it's just like you tried something new and kind of gave up before you really kind of show what you can really do with it. So, you know, slightly disappointing. You have orchestra parts in the song, you have choir in some of the verses where, you know, it's not really the band, it's basically like a drum and bass, and then you've got the keyboardist, which is probably giving the kind of choir effect, because I don't think they really have a choir in the studio, which is probably the keyboardist who does that. But yeah, it's got heavy elements, you know, like that intro part, and then some other kind of breakdown parts throughout the song. But then with verses, you've got really soft stuff, and then the chorus is actually quite open, you know, quite mellow, not really aggressive like what the intro is. And then you've got the pre-chorus, which I really like, which because of them harmonics and everything, it just adds a bit more like levels to it, so everything's not like soft and monotone. It kind of just brings a bit of a spark to it, so I kind of like that. So heavy song in some degrees, but still maintains its melodic nature. There's, you know, different kind of aspects to it and levels and things. The song still has each kind of member kind of shine, so you can actually hear them, so not one band that is like overpowering another. The solo is good, but quite short, so kind of disappointing in that. The pre-chorus I really like, and that is pretty much it for that track, so let's go to the next one called In the Blink of an Eye. So as with every other track, In a Blink of an Eye has a few kind of layers to its introduction. You're starting off with a piano. It's very nice sounding, got a nice melody to it. It doesn't last overly long. It quickly kind of develops into the kind of keyboard, so I'm guessing it's just a flip of a switch because it's more just for one person. So the keys come in, you get the drums coming in, and then eventually it's guitars. They're quite soft to begin with, but then eventually kind of all breaks together, so you've got your kind of keys going and your bass and your drums and the guitar. A fair decent heaviness again. I don't know if they were going for something a lot more heavier again, because that kind of production wall and everything that really kind of blocks just all the different kind of tones and kind of peaks that the band can have. So difficult to say, but it's again not really ultra heavy, but it's definitely got some kind of weight and beefiness to it. Getting into the verse, everything cuts out and you go back to kind of piano with the vocalist. It's quite nice and everything, you know, mellow as you would expect. And that goes on just for a little bit, not overly long again. And eventually it gets into pretty much the whole band. So like the whole band kind of come in and they don't really layer it like they do on the new album Human, where there's a lot of layering going on. The band disappearing and coming in, and then different effects being used. It's just the whole band come in. Got a bit more of an energy to it, a bit more of a pretty decent rhythm, something that kind of, you know, it's catchy, it's not a slow rhythm, it's something that's like, yeah, this is a good kind of upbeat rhythm again because of the production. It's not got any of that kind of punch to it. The chorus, the vocalist uses a bit of a higher register. It's not, you know, ultra high, you know, pitch. It's just, you know, a high register to his kind of standard. The band kind of opens it up a bit, so the keys kind of have a lot of breathing room and everything to give it that kind of, you know, real open kind of high sound to it. And then leading back into the next verse, you don't have the piano anymore. It's basically like the singer and actually just a guitarist, and then it's the whole band again. There's another kind of different element to it in the middle. So it starts off with that kind of guitar part, and then it goes into something, and then there's a brand new thing, and then it ends on that kind of whole band together heaviness thing. The guitar solo, there's no key solo, so it's just guitar again. It lasts a while now, unlike Queen of the Night. So you got a bit of kind of rhythm to it. It's not exactly slow. He does have these few kind of moments where he'll hold the note and everything, just to kind of, you know, just change it up so it's not just all like quick beat pace stuff going on. But it is overall a solo which is basically just got a, you know, rhythm and a groove to it, and then he kind of breaks it up with a few halts here and there. So it's a nice sounding solo, very decent. You know, it's nothing, you know, overly overwhelming, but it's a solo that you can't really complain at. Again, it's perfectly fine the way it is. After the solo, the band do something new. They're going for a kind of high nature, but personally I feel like it should be at a higher register than what they're delivering. It just sounds like it should be higher, because it's basically like the high tone that he uses for the chorus. I feel like he should be really using a real high note here, and even the band should be doing something a bit brighter. But because everything sounds quite bassy, it just seems that I personally feel everything should be bright, and then his vocal delivery should be fairly high note here. Not, you know, absolutely piercing, but, you know, pretty high. And I feel that sound would kind of fit here. It would be better. Because at the minute it just sounds like it's supposed to be kind of going for it, but it's really not really trying very hard about it. Again, it may just be my opinion. People may be completely happy with it, or now that I've said it, they may kind of actually think, oh yeah, it would actually be better if it was higher. It may just be me. Some other people now may actually look at it and go, yeah, I think it should have been higher. Maybe the band did want it to be higher, but because of the production it kind of fell flat. Who knows? I just personally think that part after the solo, which comes, it would have been a bit better if it was just a bit brighter and the vocalist was a bit higher. And then after that, kind of just goes back to the chorus again and you kind of get to the end of the song. So again, a lot of layers, a nice kind of piano intro, but doesn't last too long and it goes to, you know, its heavy nature. A good solo and everything. So again, a perfectly fine track. So let's get into the next one, which is going to be Fields of Sorrow. So Fields of Sorrow starts with an orchestra. Again, it's probably played by the keyboardist, because I doubt they probably have the actual orchestra in the studio with them. It's not really in your face. It's quite a subtle orchestra and everything. And then it gets into a clean guitar. It sounds really nice, the clean tone that he has. The way he plays as well, it's really kind of laid back, quite subtle and everything. He's not, you know, doing anything spectacular, but because it's a clean, nice tone and what he's playing is rather nice and everything, it just sounds really, really nice. And then you've got the keys coming in now, sounding a little kind of harsh in your face, so they're kind of taking the lead at this point in like the sounds at this point. Then the kind of whole band start coming in. You've got the actual kind of lead guitar kind of doing this kind of lead rhythm over everything that's happening, and then it kind of switches to the keyboard actually taking the lead kind of rhythm of the introduction. And then we got to another point in the intro, which is actually a kind of choir. It's a very kind of dark, menacing sounding choir. And then that then leads into the actual verse. So again, multi-layers of an intro and everything, all sounding great, not really overstaying their welcome, keeping me invested. I can hear the individual things, I can appreciate the clean guitar, I can appreciate the keys, I can appreciate the orchestra start, the choir, I can appreciate the lead of the guitar, the lead of the keys. A lot to appreciate because I can distinguish each and every thing. And I don't get fed up with it because they don't dwell on one aspect. So it's amazing. It's one thing I really like about this band. I can appreciate every aspect of the band because they let every person have their moment to shine. And that I love, because bands don't do that. They just get into an intro and it's just like, here we go, and it's just heavy, and then it's like right at the end, and nothing's changed from A to like the end of the song. It's just like, we're going to start with A and finish with A. So this band is like, we're going to start with A and then go through the entire alphabet until we get to the Z. And that's the way it should be. So I really appreciate that with this band, just putting that out there at this point. As for the kind of verse, it's got a bit of a kind of heaviness to it, so they don't, you know, go the melodic route and then build it up. It's kind of like this consistent heaviness all the way to the chorus. It's got a bit of a dark kind of weight to it, not overly dark. Again, it's got a bit of a heaviness to it, but not overly. The rhythm of the guitar and everything, it is pretty simple, just dun dun dun, you know, it's not really doing anything, nothing kind of lead orientated, it's quite simple. This is trying to keep this kind of vibe going. Near the second half of the verse, you start getting it gets a bit kind of darker and a bit more kind of aggressive. It's when the kind of chorus comes in, it doesn't really distinguish itself away from what's already been happening. It just kind of opens it up a little bit, but it's not really doing anything vastly different. And even the following verse is not really anything super new. There's maybe a little something new at the end, but other than that, it kind of follows a similar pattern. Same kind of chorus, and then after that we get a short kind of key solo. It's not really in your face, it's actually quite subtle. A key solo just kind of like in the background. Not overly in the background, it's just, you know, it's quite kind of faint and subtle. And because of that, I kind of like the tone that kind of goes along with it. I rather like it. I think near the end he kind of, you know, comes a bit into the foreground a little bit, and does a bit of a duet with the guitarist, I think. It is pretty short, but again, I like this kind of new kind of tone and everything that he did. I kind of like the way he approached it. I would have liked him to have expanded on that, so I had more of this new kind of aspect. But for what was there, it was really good. I just want it to be a bit longer, but you know, I always say that to a lot of people. They just think I will always say that no matter what. So for others, it's probably perfectly fine. And then the guitar solo. I think there's a lot of whammy involved, so it's basically, you know, a lot of holds and everything, a lot of just holding individual notes, and then he'll like use, I believe, again, the whammy, maybe a wah pedal, just to you know, take the note he's holding and kind of like dip it down or kind of raise it a little bit. You know, just kind of bend the note a bit, which is like what the whammy bar or wah pedal is kind of supposed to do, just like changes the sound a little. But he's not, you know, wailing on the whammy, he doesn't do that. And that is, for the most part, his solo is basically holding notes and using wah or whammy just to deliver just that kind of, you know, kind of like a little bit of a whine to his delivery. It's not something overly musical, obviously, and it's not something overly kind of memorable, catchy. I like it, you know, it's perfectly fine, but it's not the best. The best is going to be the more kind of like technically, you know, grand achievement that he does, or something really musical and heartwarming and engaging, and you can feel it and connect with it. This is basically just like, I'm going to hold some notes and you know, around me in a wah pedal. And that's kind of it, so it's a bit more difficult to, you know, connect with this. So, you know, I like the intro, but the song is really good, but obviously the verse kind of is the same with the second verse. The chorus doesn't really, you know, put itself out there any kind of drastically. There's nothing really overly musical about it. So it's a good track, but there is better. I like the key solo, but it's too short. The guitar solo, again, I like, but I would like something a bit more musical, a bit more technically intriguing. But for what it is, it's fine. So let's get into the next track with How to Sound. So this is a pretty lengthy track. It's near enough 7 minutes, so exactly 6 minutes 50 seconds. There's a lot more layers to this than the previous ones. So the intro starts off very softly with a piano. It's an amazing piano sound. Like, it is really, really beautiful, the piano and what's being played. It's like, it's so good I wouldn't actually mind an entire song of it, but obviously they don't do that. It's not too long until, you know, the whole band comes in, and then it's just, you know, the usual whole band playing until something unique happens, which it does. The next part is basically the guitarist doing an actual lead. It's not just him kind of going over the top, it is actually what you could argue is a lead solo. He is actually doing something that sounds very nice. It is kind of like the lead kind of tone and channel. It sounds really nice. He does do it again later in the song, so it is not like a standalone thing. He does do this little part again somewhere else, but I do consider it like its own like little solo. It actually lasts longer than some people's short solo, so it's a decent length. Obviously not as long as you would want an actual solo, but you know, it's a good section of this nice sounding lead. The actual verse that comes in, you've basically just got the drums, and I think it is just the key, no, not keys, it's drums and guitar. I think maybe a clean channel guitar with the vocalist. It's quite dull, not dull in a bad way. It's just, you know, it's not overly bright. It's not you know, beautiful and musical. It's not really dark. It's just this really somber. That's probably a better phrasing. A somber kind of melody that's happening here. And then the band kind of come in. It actually kind of picks up fairly heftily instead of like a gradual increment. It is quite a hefty you know, band that come in. It's quite heavy actually. And then eventually it starts kind of building the pace. The singer starts going into a bit more kind of soaring vocals and before the chorus hits. And the chorus does kind of connect and everything. The chorus is very open as what you expect with choruses, but it's very light. There's lightness and brightness to it. It's a very nice sounding chorus. I really like it. The second verse, everything is moved around and changed. So instead of just having this soft element, it's actually the drums and then the gain channel on the guitar. It's not clean. So that's kind of going along and everything. In the first verse, I forgot to mention there was a whisper part. Not a soft whisper. It's one of them aggressive whispers. Here, I, kind of like that. But better. So that's quite faint and everything. But in this one, he's in the foreground, so it's where I. So kind of something like that. But not in a scream kind of way. I can't do the whisper. He can. I can only kind of do the scream thing. So he does it a bit more, in the foreground in the next part, so you can hear it a lot more clearly. As for the solo aspect, so after the chorus, he does that lead thing that he did in the intro, and then from there it goes into this kind of key lead. Not a lead solo, it's just it's keys by itself doing some kind of interesting sound. And then it's by itself, and then the whole kind of band comes in, and then it's this kind of build up that leads into the guitar solo. And then it goes back to the keys, and then it gets to the guitar solo. The guitar solo, there's more speed this time round than what's been in the previous tracks. So there's a lot of kind of speed. There is holds as well. There's some fancy groove elements to it. So just a bit more kind of upbeat type of solo from him and everything. So a bit more fun and everything. Still a great sounding solo. And then after that, you get another kind of new aspect of the song. A bit open and everything, but not in a high register. It's just a bit kind of open. That leads into the chorus, which then finishes the song with it doing that kind of lead that was in the intro. So that was it for that track. There was a lot going on, some real nice aspects to the song. So next is the last track of this album, which is going to be Walls of Deception. So the last track on the album, so how are they going to approach this? Now, people, if you were to say, if you were to make a last track of an album, what would you really strive for? And a lot of people would say because it's the last track, you want to basically make it one of the most catchy, memorable things, because it's going to be the last thing they remember. They're not going to remember all the other things. This is going to be the freshest thing to them. So you have to finish on a high. So this song is 6 minutes 51 seconds. And how do they approach this? Are they going to leave it on a really beautiful melodic note, or are they going to have something really upbeat, extraordinary, really catchy? Well, let's see. So starting off, it is basically just kind of keys by itself, and then guitar comes in. It's that kind of chugging thing that you get. So it's just with the guitar, a bit of pause and everything, where it's just kind of keys and drum, and then the guitar just chug and disappear. And that is basically the intro this time. So it's not really a layered intro this time. It's a lot kind of shorter and condensed compared to all the multi-tiered layers complexity of the previous stuff. So that's a little interesting. So it basically just goes into the verse now from here, and it's heavy. It's not starting melodic and doing a build. It is just everything's all out there. The whole band, I believe, is there, vocals and all. It's got a really good kind of groove to it though. So because it's all kind of heavy and everything, it does actually have this really kind of interesting, kind of catchy kind of groove to it that you would want in the last track. Then they have a guitar kind of do this kind of fancy kind of lead elements at points, and then it kind of changes rhythm to be a bit more of aggressive. The singer always is exactly the same, but rhythmically the verse actually changes about 4 times. So you got the first part which has a bit of the guitar lead, and then everything gets a bit kind of aggressive, and then it goes to the same thing without the lead, and then it will go somewhere else before the chorus sets in. The chorus again is open, which is usually the kind of norm for choruses, but it's catchy, it's memorable, it actually stands out. It's got this real, it's not catchy, no, it's not poppy or anything, it is just this really gentle, like, you know, not soft but not overly aggressive, you know, in middle ground, just open catchy chorus with, you know, what the vocalist is in the band, so it just sounds really nice. And then getting back into the second verse, again it kind of plays it a bit differently than you got the chorus, and then after that you get you know, big elements of vocals and everything. It doesn't have that kind of a bit of an up tempo, you know, catchiness to it. This section now opens it up a little bit, giving it a bit more of a melody. The solo actually is again upbeat. It's not doing anything musical. It's got a lot of speed to it. He has his hold in certain areas, so keeping that kind of upbeat energy to it. And then after that, it kind of has that massive like interlude before it connects back with the singer. So you've got the keys and the guitar going, and just kind of chugging away till the singer comes back. When the singer actually comes back, this is where the most melody kind of aspect of the song comes in, even though it's not overly melody, it's the closest you get. So it'll kind of pause with just like the singer and maybe kind of piano and everything, and then it'll like immediately come back in, and then there'll be a bit of a pause with just kind of singing maybe like an atmospheric track behind, and then the whole band goes again, and then, you know, a bit of a pause with something else in there with the singer, and then it connects back with the chorus. So it just kind of has this stop start again, so it's not overly slowing down. It just gives you a bit of a, you know, pause of a breath and everything, constantly bringing the energy back in, so it's not bombarding you with full-on energy. They keep pausing and everything, building up for the final chorus. What do they do with the final chorus? Well, they do something. The final chorus originally it is exactly the same. But then the final aspect, they start quickening the pace a bit. You get the vocalist holding on to certain words and everything, and then, you know, quickening the pace of some things, and then holding it here, and then having an emphasis on this kind of phrase. So the chorus does kind of change it up a bit. It starts getting a bit more musical, a bit more of energy behind it, a bit more of a quickened pace, and yeah, then the song kind of ends with that kind of like mid-tempo somber intro that you had, and they just kind of turn the dial down, so it doesn't just end, it is the volume just, you know, decreases, and everything is the keys, the guitar, the bass and drum just, you know, keep playing out until the volume, you know, hits 0, and the song just fades into nothing. And that is basically how the album ends. So, what do I think of the album? Well, there's a lot of good things about the album, just like the album Human. You've got Breathe, which is, you know, the kind of basic kind of song, but has a good energy to it. It's easy to get into, so it's not, you know, you just hit immediately with a really complex song. It just kind of eases you in, and then it starts getting more complex. Why I Believe has an unbelievable chorus and everything. Into the Cold's a great track. Fields of Utopia, Queen of the Night has good aspects. Bit of Bad and Walls of Deception, great way to end the album. The Fat Sound, a lot of great aspects. There's so many great aspects to this album. What's bad? Well, okay, what's bad? So, Queens of the Night, that solo is a bit short. Some solos are just short. Queens of the Night is one that definitely stood out. All the others are quite long, but I would have liked, you know, a bit more to it. Some solos I think they could have done a bit more, instead of just focus on one sort of thing, so that, you know, holding notes and then using the wah or the whammy bar. And I think he should have done a bit more with that. Other things, it's not... I have to compare it to Human, because that is where I've come from. And compared to Human, this album is not as big, is not as musical, is not as complex, it's not as interesting, it's not as catchy, it doesn't stand out to me. Human has some beautiful elements, it really does. It has some really huge aspects, a lot of intricate parts put in, a lot of different tones being used. There's a massive emphasis on melody, which makes it beautiful, and they keep everything interested. Then there's a lot of not a lot, but there is aggressive parts. As for this album, everything is quite consistently this quite simple, heavy vibe to it. Now, obviously, they have melodic parts to this album, but it's not massive in comparison to Human. There is a lot of Human. This is a hell of a lot more restrained than what Human is. This is way, way, way simpler and just not as mature. There is not as much variation going on as there is in Human. Now, when it comes to the fans, when I looked at the reviews of fans for the album Human, fans hated that album. Well, I don't really know. I only know the odd people on Amazon. Human has something like 2.5 stars. It's pretty appalling. And the consensus is that it is unfocused, it is extremely bland, there is nothing to it, and there's a lot more going on in this album as well as the first one. Obviously, I can't question the first one because I haven't got to it yet, but I have heard this. And this album is simple. Human was massively intricate. I just don't think the people who listened to it and really appreciated what it was and really have the ear to really, actually listen to the melody. I think people just went in and just heard melody and just thought this is boring and bland and there's nothing to it. They didn't really focus on how intricate and huge and what was going on. I just don't think they grasped it. So yeah, this album is fairly simple. It's the shortest of all three of them as well. This album is only about 57 minutes, as for Human is an hour 15 minutes. And yeah, things are a lot more simple. Human, there was just so much going on. There was so much beauty. Everything here is got more of a kind of dark nature to it, so there's not a lot of beauty. So when everything gets melodic, it's just kind of this dark kind of vibe. Nothing's overly musical. Really, nothing's overly aggressive because they don't have that punch to it because of the production value. So it's a good album, but obviously it's nothing in comparison to the album Human that they've just released. And standing by itself again, if I didn't listen to Human, I would have still said I would have liked a bit more melody, like the melody that is in this album, because they do have it. It's not beautiful enough, so I would have liked there to be a bit more beauty in this album. It's just a bit dark. Again, there is layering going on, but I would have liked a bit more to it because everything does feel a bit simple on this album. And then the production is just outright terrible because I'm not getting any emphasis. Like, things that are supposed to be higher or more powerful and louder and more bombastic, I am not getting it. All I can tell is if there's like some kind of tone. I have to use tone to basically grasp where the energy and sound and volume levels are supposed to be. I'm going purely off a bloody tone to figure it out, which is, not how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to get the impact and feel the impact instead of like, oh, I hear a tonal shift of it's kind of heavier, so I guess it's maybe louder then. But you don't really hear anything louder, you just guess. It's shocking. And then like highs, it's like, I think it might be high. I don't know if the band has done it or if it is the production value. I can't tell what's the fault of the band or the fault of the production. So it's a massive pain in the backside. So even though I really like this album, it's got great elements to it, and I will actually probably get this album. I really like the band. There's a lot of emphasis again on each individual member. There is a lot of layering going on. The vocalist is fantastic. I like that there is key solos and guitar solos. That is amazing. And unlike any other band, they just rush in with just here's the intro, blah, 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 and it's just all heavy and intense, and then the guitar drowns everything, which is why I love guitar, just because it's the greatest sounding instrument. But with this band, you have individuality going on. It's like here's the keys, here's the bass, here's the drum, here's the guitar, here's the vocals, and I can distinguish each and every one and then hear what they're doing and appreciate what is being delivered. I get more of it on the album Human than this album, but it is still there. So I love that. I love that the band does it. It's like the best element to them because I can actually focus on each member and all the layering and intricacy. I adore it with this band. But again, the production really ruins it. So giving this a score, so Human I gave an 8.4. It would have been a lot higher because I really liked that album Human. The only reason it was an 8.4 is basically just because it is overly complex and because I know it has a massive emphasis on melody, and a lot of people don't like melody. They like heavy in their music. So that was basically the only reasons why it came down that far. This is going to be a 7.8, so it is a fair bit below Human. It's still a good album. It's above 7, so it is a better than good. But the production seriously affects it. I can't give it above an 8 because production like this is just shocking. And compared to Human, it is definitely way below Human's levels. Human is just massive tier level. This, not close. But because Human is massive tier, that does mean, because even though it is down, it is still great, this album. It's just Human is way, way, way too high. So it is a really good album. It's just the production really, really sucks. Compared to Human, this is seriously nowhere near as good. It is overly quite simple. There is a lot of focus on kind of dark and broody and everything, because for Human there is so much beauty to it, and then they do have their heavy elements and their high energy elements, and then their, you know, depressing elements. There is so much more to Human. This is like focus on like one or two kind of things, and you know, everything is a lot more simple in structure and layering and things. So 7.8 I just think is as fair as I can really give. It is a good album. I would say go out, buy it. You will not be disappointed. It is really good. I would say go with Human first just to get into it, because the production of this is really so bloody terrible. And as I said in my first part of this review, I showed a song to one of my friends, and he absolutely hated the production. He just said the song and the band sounded fine and everything, but the production, I just don't think I could put myself through it. It's just way too difficult. So I would get into the band and then appreciate and really be fans of the band through the album Human, and then come to this album, because then you're going to know the band, you're going to have a connection with the band, so you'll probably put a lot more thought and care into listening to this album. You won't be as put off-ish by it. So that's what I would do. So 7.8, that is it. I hope you've enjoyed my review of this album. And I may do the first album. I'm not too sure. I probably will. So if you want to see that, subscribe. But if I don't, then I'm clearly going to do other album reviews. You can look through my channel. There's a fair few albums there. And I'll keep doing that. And if Darkwater does another album, I'm definitely going to be on that as well. So I hope you stick with me. If not, then, you know, just thanks for watching. And I hope you liked it. So that's as much as I can ask for. Just hope that people like what I do. So until my next video, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.